what did you do right out of college, and then how did that get you over to the Discovery Network? Because you're working as an editor there first, right?
No, I started with my own business and then kind of keep fast forwarding. I then started a business with a guy, and we started a production company, had a studio up to like 100 employees at one time. And then me and my partner decided to go our separate ways, and that was like 2000. And then obviously September 11th happened. So then, we kind of closed that business down, and my wife started a company. And so we work together and have a staff of about 8 people now. But at the time, we were kind of rebuilding things back up. And one of our clients was a telecommunications company who went bankrupt. And, when you're a small business and someone goes bankrupt and owes you a lot of money, well, I started thinking, how am I going to pay for the house and my kids' school and things like that? So a guy that used to work for me at my previous company said, hey, if you ever need to pick up any freelance work, just give me a call down at Discovery Channel. And so I called up and had a meeting on Friday, and they wanted me to start Monday. And I didn't want to shut our business down. So I said, hey, could I work like the second shift, like 6 to 2 in the morning? And they're like, sure. So, and because I had avid experience editing, as well as the old linear format of editing with tape machines, it was like there wasn't a lot of people that still knew how to do that. So that was like a foot in the door. And after about a year, they got rid of that room, and I was really just doing Avid. But that's kind of how life goes sometimes. A door closes and then another door opens that you never dreamed of. So, I've been announcing horse shows. I've been doing TV commercials and some radio commercials and corporate videos. And I happened to be working with the general manager of the Science Channel. His name was Steve Burns. And I know how to use Pro Tools, and, I love audio and love video. So it was a guy who was also editing a show for Steve Burns. I'll never forget. It was about Leonardo da Vinci. And he said, Brooks, could you read the scratch track for me for this? Now, a scratch track is when basically, this show was what we call a reversion. Let's say the BBC originally did this show, so it's an hour long, and it's got to fit into a 44-minute clock, which means you have commercial breaks, and you've got like 4 or 5 breaks and then commercials to put in. So what they do is they kind of rewrite some of the show, take out some of the Britishisms, and they want a scratch track. So the editor usually reads the scratch track, because you don't want to waste the money for the big shot narrator to do it and then have him do it again because some lines got changed. It's just too expensive. So the scratch track is done. And so I said, sure, I'll read the scratch track. Well, at the time, those shows were delivered with stems. And the stems are all the breakout tracks. So you have sound effects, music, any other sound. I mean, sound effects they would do so sophisticated. They would have people walking across the sand in this one Egypt show I did. So the sound design was incredible. So I took the stems and mixed my voice with it. So, I just gave it back to the guy, and Steve happened to hear it. And he's like, I really like that guy's voice. And I had worked with Steve on just some minor projects before. And he's like, oh, man, I'm going to have to get in touch with Brooks. So he got in touch with me and he said, look, Brooks, I already have someone picked out for this show, the Leonardo da Vinci show, but I have some other shows I'd like you to work on. He has a show. It's a BBC reversion. They brought up the Monitor from like the Chesapeake River or something like that down in Virginia. They dug it up and they, took it to land. And so that was the first show I did about the Monitor. And from there on, I'd be working with some different producers and I would, edit some stuff too. And they're like, oh, I got to get a voice person for this. I'm like, hey, I do voice, too. If you like me, I'll just be happy to read. You don't have to give it to me, of course. And so I would audition and I started getting shows on Discovery, TLC, Science Channel, and mainly one-off documentary style shows. And then Steve says, Brooks, I've got this show. It comes in from Canada. We've never had it on the air yet, but they said it does amazingly well. The ratings are really good for this show, but it's really simple. And it's 4 segments in a half hour about how things are made. Would you like to do it? I said, sure, I'd love to do it. So that's how that series started. And the first season, I think I read like 3 seasons worth of scripts because we were getting caught up. And the reason why they get a U.S. narrator to do it, Canada has French and it has English. Well, they wanted to take out the Canadianisms in the English aspect. And obviously they have to change kilometers to miles and just that kind of stuff. And so I was the guy that was the voice in the US, and the show has done incredibly well. There have been many types of shows that have tried to do it better, add more production value and all those things, and they have never beaten how it's made for long. They might have lasted a season or 2, but how it's made has, the last series we recorded was around early 2020, and with COVID and those things, and Discovery's merger and that kind of stuff. We haven't done any new episodes yet. Not to say that that's not going to happen, but we've been doing this thing since I think the first episode I did was somewhere in 2004.